Welcome back to Saints Row 4. Last time, we escaped the simulation, escaped Zinyak's ship. He did kind of blow up the Earth, though, so, we don't exactly have a home to go back to. And as such, we're kind of just in a little ship that's, I suppose, flying around their big ship to kind of evade detection by constantly being in their own territory. Just, hiding right under their nose, that sort of thing. So now that we're back, you might have noticed that, shops are locked now. What's up with that? Well, there is going to be a proper intro to this, but I kind of want stores available now, so I'm gonna be cutting ahead a little bit. Basically, to unlock stores, you play Pipe Dream. Now, there isn't any, order on the overworld for this. It depends on how many stores you've unlocked, that determines, what puzzles you get. More on that in a moment. First, it's tattoo time. Of course, as you might expect, just like with most of the character creator, there's a lot of stuff returning from Saints Row the Third, which is nice. Get some consistency here that we're unfortunately unable to get going from 2 to 3. And really kind of 1 to 2 as well. Is a fair bit different, even though they were relatively similar. But yeah, there are some additions. I'm not going to point out all of the new things, because admittedly, I don't remember off the top of my head either what exactly is new and what was in the third. But I will try to keep consistent from Saints Row the Third, so, and in the background, I recorded what I did with tattoos in that game, and I'll just remake that when you're not looking. Admittedly, I kinda wish tattoos were part of the customizer so that you could just do that ahead of time. I get that would kind of negate Rusty's Needle as a store a little bit if you could just start with what you wanted. Chances are you probably wouldn't look back, but I don't know. Considering you could do this in the third game, it's weird that you don't have them anymore. All you've got is the fleur-de-lis on your neck, which was also what you started with in third as well. I guess when we became president, they made us laser most of our tattoos off. But now that we're back in the simulation, I guess we'll just put them all back on. America could only stop us for so long. But yeah, I'll just, do all of this off-screen. We'll just look at what we've got here. There's some okay designs. I'm not exactly a tattoo person, though, so not overly enamored. But, I feel like the boss definitely has some tattoos, so I did my best. I'm not going to say they look amazing, but they're something alright. They are there, you can't deny that. Also, as a word of note, if you're wondering, any alterations you make to your character in the simulation are automatically just, applied to the boss in the real world. We can go back to the ship at least, even if we can't go back to Earth, but no, you're not locked into whatever design you started with. I feel like that's relatively obvious. It doesn't seem like a thing this game would do, but I should clarify just in case. Admittedly, I was kind of thinking at one point, maybe before I go back to the ship every time, I'll just go back to a default hairstyle, but no, that sounds annoying to do. I'm just gonna keep going. I don't actually care that much if the boss looks different IRL, just because she did some things in the simulation. It's not actually that important. The game agrees. The game says so. I'm like, yeah, no, since you're not gonna make the effort, I don't really care either. That'd be way too much effort for really kind of a stupid consistency that nobody really cares about anyway. So yeah, as a note, eventually there's, story reasons to do store hacking, so I don't want to do too many of these, but also I do need some stores open, otherwise I'm just gonna have the default look for a bit, and I don't want that. I gotta add the tattoos, I want to have some more clothing options, and I've gotta change my hair as well. Alright, so yeah, we're starting with Nobody Loves Me, I guess. I mean, in fairness, we have already seen at least a little bit of, Planet Zin, as it's called now. Oh, look at me, I'm Zinyak. I'm so cultured, but I still have to have the store named after me. You're not better than I am, Zinyak. Alright, so yeah, we'll jump off here, and yeah, last place we need to go is, of course, the Plastic Surgeon for that hairstyle change. So yeah, it's right up there. Thankfully, I don't need to do any mechanics. There's really not much of a need for me to do cars, and, you know, if I cared I could, but I enjoy the superpowers more, so... running it is. But yeah, I don't actually want to do too many of these ahead of time. Because again, they'll come up naturally in the story, so... I don't really want to do them too out of order. You're not, like, punished for anything like that. You do lose out on a little bit of dialogue, but nothing important or groundbreaking or anything. But still things I'd like to mostly keep, if I can. Again, these are just kind of necessities for me to have variety. And I don't want to have another episode without... To be fair, I could make some more story progress if I wanted to as well, but there's reasons I don't really want that. Anyway, next on the list to do, since you don't need to see me do this, is summoning homies. A thing I don't usually do in these games, but there is a nice little bit of extra dialogue in it for you if you summon 2 homies at once. Don't mind anybody below Keith David. They're not important and I won't pay attention to them for a bit. So yeah, when you summon your homies...
I'm on my way.
You can have 2 in at a time, and they will have little lines of dialogue.
I forgot to say it, but thanks for rescuing me.
Oh, sure. No problem at all.
Though I have to say, I was surprised you came to the other side of the Zin ship to find me first. I would have thought that...
It was on the way.
But you said you had to...
It was on the way.
Oh, right.
But there is also unique dialogue between just about any 2 given characters in the game. There's like a couple exceptions, but not that many. So yeah, I'm gonna be using the beginning of episodes to kind of show some of those off when possible. Of course, I'm not really gonna have any available for the next few episodes, because, in terms of characters that aren't here because of DLC, we have the 2. I mean, there's vehicle delivery, but they don't really talk to you like that. So, okay, I could make some progress, and that would actually give us the proper introduction to playing Pipe Dream to unlock stores. And it... look, okay, sure, fine, it would technically make more sense to do that first. But I really, really, really want to do some side quests, mostly for the reward. And as you might have noticed from the runtime, this is gonna take a hot minute. And believe it or not, this is half of the things I'm going to be doing for side quests. Of course, part of the problem is we're still in early game, which means there are so many clusters just lying around, and a lot of times going to be spent kinda just roaming a bit and grabbing these. But I really want to do the side quests first, because there is at least one really excellent reward in it for us, and I want it as soon as possible. But basically, there are a bunch of side quests in the game, some a little more important than others. We're going to be getting the less important ones first. But we have side quests based on our homies, so we don't really have anything from Kinsey, but she's mostly been supplying our main quests. We do, however, have some work from Keith David. Alright, so Allie.
Let's kick off this campaign. See me on the ship.
So yeah, let's get going. Alright, though I do need to pick up a few things first. We are mostly close to that. I'm sorry, a few more clusters, Keith David, I'm sorry. I'm sure you understand. So, this is the first time we're actually exploring the ship proper. Another reason this episode's so long, but, yeah, we've got our little ship. It's a very small little hangout spot for all our characters, and there's not really too much for us to do other than speak with them. Or alternatively, romance them.
That's really not going to work for me. I hope you understand.
Honestly, I'm kind of glad it didn't. That'd be
I've been
weird.
thinking a lot about those days on the campaign trail. I bet we can use a lot of those techniques against the Zin.
Makes sense. Shit got real rough in Salt Lake.
Yeah, look, Keith David, I like you, but not like that. But, yeah, a bit of a Mass Effect parody here, I guess. I don't really know about I think Citadel is kind of your main hangout spot in those games, plural? All of them, maybe? I don't know. Again, I don't really play them, but I'm fairly certain that the fact that you can just casually romance certain characters is just kind of a dig on those games. Though, of course, there are far fewer mechanics involved than there are in those games. But I can't really show that off because I can't really find Kinsey, so, yeah, we'll do a little more exploration. But like I said, this is mostly just a hangout spot for all of our friends. You can do a little bit of stuff on here, but that's about it. So most of your time's gonna be spent in the simulation. Which makes sense. That is where the meat of the game is. That's the open world right there. Yeah, sometimes Kinsey can be in here, but nope, she wasn't, so one last desperate attempt to find her. No, she's not at the window. Although there is this in the pilot seat for some reason. I don't think that's going to be doing any cool maneuvers to get us out of danger, so, maybe don't keep it occupying that space in case we need it. Ah well. None of my business, back to the simulation. So yes, Keith David is having us do some stuff.
Remember that time you had to outrun those protesters in Boise? It's kinda like that.
So yeah, basically this is how we're going to be doing our activities in the game. You can do activities on your own without necessarily starting these missions, and if you want to, you're totally free to do that. That will basically just skip the task in this set of missions, so if I had done this one already, I would not have to do it again. Of course, that does mean you miss out on a little bit of dialogue, like I said for the,
Italian food,
Oh.
UFOs, and creatures
Hey, Jane.
from the depths of hell. All these things came together with a beat in that last song by Dr. P. You're listening to Jane Valderrama on K-12 Radio.
So yeah, just an aside there,
If you're
yes,
here to
Jane
listen to me,
Valderrama did survive.
Jane Valderrama,
Apparently
I'll
Zinyak
update
kept
you on
her,
late breaking
and now
news
she is
stories.
being forced to
Tune in
DJ
the
for
same
K-12.
At my forcibly signed contract with the Zin. Instead, here is
Yeah, she
another
doesn't sound
song.
too happy about that. But yeah, like I said, the storefronts, hacking those, that's one of the things you can miss dialogue for if you do it too early. Activities are another one. So, if you want to save time later, you're absolutely allowed to just do everything you can ahead of time. But I think having these connected to character missions is a good way to kind of pace yourself for them. That way you don't just do too much at one time. Gives you a little bit of breathing room for them, and gives you a little bit of context for the missions as well, since otherwise you're just kind of doing activities.
Sure, I could break the sound barrier.
So yeah, I think Saints Row the Third did a pretty good job of keeping activities kind of involved in the world, even if they weren't, even if they didn't have the same cutscenes they did in 1 or 2. They did have kind of a similar setup to them as well, where you would basically just talk to a character and they'd sort of have a string of missions for you to do. So yeah, it's kind of just more of that, and I kind of appreciate that. It keeps you doing activities in a way that I feel is more engaging than just saying, alright, if you want to do more story, you have to do activities first, in order to get enough reputation to be able to do these missions. And I was never really the biggest fan of that. I much prefer If you want to do all the story missions in a row, you can. You won't get as much playtime, and you won't be getting as many rewards for that. But you can do that if you want to.
Remember when Pierce got in a fight with that reporter? Think you can do more damage than those two did?
So yeah, I think it's just better to incentivize you by making it fun to do this stuff, rather than just saying, no, you have to, no matter what. Do you not like that activity type? Too bad, you gotta do it anyway. There's a lot of freedom to it, so if you want to just blast through the game, you can, but again, there's some really good rewards in it for you, so that's why I'm doing things a little out of order. Maybe it's not the best idea, but look, trust me, it's worth it, I swear. But yeah, speaking of story missions and all that, in terms of story stuff, so... Right, I think Saints Row 4 handled its tone a lot better than 3 did. 3 was, like I said, a little flippant in places it really shouldn't have been. This game is also kind of flippant, but I feel like it's more on purpose. Or at the very least, it's just more fitting. I don't know. I still think the death of Johnny Gat kind of rubbed me the wrong way in 3rd. But weirdly enough, the Earth exploding, not nearly as bad for me. I mean, more people died, but like... I don't know, the boss doesn't care about them as much. We did have a moment to go, hey Zinyak, why'd you blow up Earth, you dick? You shouldn't have done that, but... Ultimately, the boss is the type of person who canonically runs people over on the sidewalk just because. She's admitted to it, she's very casual about it, she doesn't care. So, you know, random people dying, probably not as much of her concern.
Land you in hot water, if said to patrolling Zin. Pop, reggae, rock, and classical. Some people like such music, and some want something with a dropped beat. That's why you're listening to K12 Radio.
I love how out of her element Jane is. Just like, I don't know, some people like these genres, other people like electronica or dubstep or whatever, I don't know. The Zin just have me doing this for some reason. Why, I don't know. But yeah, no, like, the boss does not care about other people nearly as much, so, I don't know. Obviously, she's not gonna take the death of her other gang members lying down, but, you know, other than that, I can see why she wouldn't really care as much about anybody else in comparison to Johnny Gat, who is one of her oldest friends that we know about. Like, we don't know any friends she had before joining the Saints, and he was there from the beginning, so... Yeah, it's always kind of bothered me, getting rid of him like that, and... The fact that Shaundi is aggro, and I think that makes sense, that's fair, but like, I don't know. I feel like the boss also should have had some of that energy. Maybe they were worried if the boss was too mad, that would kind of pigeonhole you into just, like, doing all the main missions instead of activities. You know, you don't want to make the player character too impatient, or the player will actually get impatient, and then you are doing a whole bunch of story missions in a row, and kind of leaving everything else on the back burner. Oh, also, here's a black hole gun. Don't get too close or it'll kind of mess you up a little bit, but it won't do the damage you're doing to everything else around you. Maybe have other weapons for this one, I don't know. I didn't bother using any other weapons, because, I mean, it's a black hole gun. Why would I not take the opportunity to use this thing?
Yeah! Take it, fake steelboard!
But yeah, no, I think the Earth blowing up kind of just being a whatever thing really works for this game's plot. I feel like it's a lot more purposeful in its flippant attitude.
You didn't need that, did you?
Plus, the narration immediately goes into, yeah, this was supposed to be a thing that made them sad, but it just made them angry as well, so like, yeah, no, of course they're not gonna dwell on it. They're just gonna get right back in there and start ruining everything Zinyak and the other Zin have made.
City needs some serious remodeling. That was fun.
so I feel like the attitude's just more fitting in this game. It is definitely a lot more off the wall. Definitely does not... I feel like if I say, oh, it doesn't take anything seriously, that's, you know, maybe... It maybe sounds like an insult. Believe me, it's not. I think this is, at this point, this game is just a victory lap for the Saints, right? Like, we've done the serious storylines in 1 and 2. The boss had her victory in the second game. You know, even though she really shouldn't have, that's not really how revenge stories are supposed to end. And then we just went even further in the third and just took over a second town and defeated the entire military, so like, at this point, there's really nowhere else for us to go. I think a criticism people had for this game and kind of assuming there would be a game after this is like, okay, we've really escalated, where are we going now? And then down the line we'd get a reboot instead of a sequel, so as it turns out, this is the end of the escalation. Alien invasion and a simulation where we can have superpowers or a black hole gun. But I think that's totally fair. Again, I feel like we've explored a lot of avenues for the 3rd Street Saints.
Was anybody using
And I don't know if there's really that many other places we can really go. And we haven't really seen it yet, but game is definitely a celebration of the other Saints Row games. We'll be seeing that a lot more in the future, though. Considering this is a simulation, it shouldn't be that much of a surprise that we can see a lot more callbacks than just, hey, here's Steelport, remember Saints Row 3, Saints Row the 3rd, rather. Sorry, got the number wrong. It's important that they never use the same number system twice. The real reason we only got 4 games, they couldn't figure out anything to do. Alright, so yeah, more mayhem. And we're good. I will say, definitely a lot harder to really do montages for this one, but that's fine.
Zin patrols are like campaign rules. Sometimes you really want to smack the shit out of them.
Well, alright then. But yeah, I guess I don't mind too much. I've had 3 games of montages. Maybe I just want the game where I do talk over all of the gameplay. And I guess I could skip the dialogue between missions, but I'm not doing activities so I can listen to that dialogue and I can get that stuff. So I don't really know if I want to leave it out, and it'd be too awkward to kind of like make the montage and then shove the bits of dialogue between them, or like have all of them in a row before or afterwards. I just don't think that would flow well at all. So I'll just kind of leave it like this. Besides, every character kind of has a different pool of things to do, so every time you get a new character, what you have to do with them feels a little bit different. Not totally, of course, there's only so many activities, but you get a little bit of variety in each. But yeah, where was I? Oh yeah, so yeah, we've got a lot to see, kind of celebrating the past 3 games in this one, so I don't feel like it's necessarily a bad thing that it's just sort of off the wall. Again, I consider this a victory lap. It is the top of the escalation. We have gone so far in a weird direction that, again, we just went to alien invasion. And while that did rub some people the wrong way, I'm fine with it, honestly. I feel like it makes sense, and again, it's just a way for them to really bring the other 3 games together for one last hurrah.
This is Jane Valderrama for K-12 Radio, giving you exciting music instead of accurate, unbiased news. The majestic giraffe. A tall herbivore wandering the savannas and grasslands of Africa, never to be seen again, thanks to the Zin. This is Giraffe by Junkie XL here on K-12
You
Radio.
don't know, maybe Zinyak liked giraffes, and he saved a few. I mean, that wasn't really his focus, and it seems like he was mostly looking for, the best and brightest, so I'm guessing he was looking for sapient species, but maybe a Zin just really liked a giraffe. You don't know. But yeah, I feel like we are at the point where, like, in a way I can kind of get where people are coming from if they don't like 4. Like, maybe I would have been the same, you know? If I hadn't started with 4, because I'm very fond of this game. That guy's having a bad time. Yeah, like, I started with this game, so every other Saints Row game I played was sort of building up back to this, in a way. This set my expectations, but in a way that's kind of just how all fandoms are. Like, most people will play a video game and be like, damn, I really like this video game, therefore I probably like the series. But then sometimes you just get the type of person who kind of just wants more of that one video game. You get too familiar, that of course breeds contempt, and that's the old saying, but like...
when you're so focused on the nominations. Yeah! Perspective. That's a decent segue to climb into town, right?
Sure is, Keith David. But yeah, making things is kind of a tough balancing act, because everything is subjective, including the thing that is already a balancing act, right? Like, you don't want things to be too similar, or too different, or people complain in different ways. But also, people's interpretation of how much a thing should change kind of differs for everything ever. Like, there are some things where people will definitely just be like, oh yeah, that's basically the thing I played a few years ago. That's fine. I don't know how much EDF has changed, but there's just, you know, it's got its niche, and people in that niche really enjoy it, even though it seems like it doesn't change that much from what my understanding. You sure are.
Intergalactic War. It makes even the most courageous
Intergalactic War?
think of getting their affairs in order.
Oh, wait, is
And
this?
when picking a title for a Left Behind autobiography,
Oh, it is, isn't
only
it?
to our next song, All My Life.
Yep, okay.
here on K12 Radio.
Darn it. I've got to keep talking, but I want to listen to the song. This is like one of my favorite songs from my first playthrough of this. But I will persevere and not talk about this. It's just here for background. But yeah, like, you can have just a fan base that is all for just things that are kind of similar to what came before. It really kind of depends on the person. Saints Row is in this boat of, honestly, they're always really trying for something a little bit different. Or really a lot bit different. Like, 1 and 2 are similar in how they play, 3 and 4 are similar in how they play, but like, both go for different things. At their cores, they're all similar games. Like, they're all these open world games that focus on story, but also really want to encourage the player to have these weird activities, like insurance fraud or whatever. And, you know, there are those overlapping ones, like, again, insurance fraud, where they play pretty similarly from game to game, and they're in all of them. I think insurance fraud's one of the only ones that really lasts. There's also technically Hitman that's been here the entire time, but kind of in different forms every time. So yeah, we have kind of a very similar premise between all 4 games. One could argue that the skeleton of Saints Row is always pretty much the same, but they are not in any capacity the same games. They do not really shift in terms of the core, but everything surrounding them is different enough that there are definitely people who really hate what a lot of the later games do. But as I said before, I personally don't think it's unfair that they shift over time. I like the course that this series has gone through.
One of Zinyak's lieutenants is hiding as a regular person in the simulation. Take his ass.
Though, you know, I guess in fairness, it does go back to the old, nobody hates a series more than supposed fans of it, right? The Scots ruined the Scots, or whatever that Simpsons bit was. But yeah, I will say, you know, at least Saints Row fans can recognize kind of differences in tones and the fact that that can result in something completely different. Like, I'm gonna share a secret. I don't really know if Zelda ever really got that stale. Like, it definitely has a formula, but I feel like every game changes enough that it was never a big deal. And then everybody liked Link Between Worlds, even though that was just the same, but like it removes anything interesting about the items you normally collect, so...
Well, you've got my vote. Come on out the ship when you're ready to reminisce some more.
Apparently Keith David wasn't a fan of Link Between Worlds either. Look, Keith. I probably can't call you Keith, you're a real person. Keith David. We're a rare breed, but we exist. But yeah, like... there were... It is one of those cases where everything is subjective. Consensus does kind of matter to a certain extent, but you can still disagree with consensus, and so often people do, so...
That was multi-platinum artist
even that truly doesn't encompass everything. I don't know. I think my overall opinion is most things are not made without merit, unless we're talking about, like, a Steam asset flip. Chances are people put effort into something and it, you know, even if it isn't something I like, there's usually something interesting about it, and it's usually got some merit to it, even if it's not my personal thing. But yeah, like, Saints Row is a series that has different meat on its bones all the time, and I respect it for that. Again, maybe I wouldn't have if I did start with Saints Row 1. You know, maybe if my expectations weren't placed here from the very beginning, I would have liked that more down-to-earth tone of it. But that's not how it played out, so I don't know what my opinion would have been in that case. Though in fairness, I feel like I would have at least liked 2, right? Even if I started with 1, I feel like those at least have enough in common that I would have been like, oh, 2's kind of just a better version of 1. I'm fairly certain I have seen people who only like Saints Row 1 out there in the wild. I don't understand that one personally. That's between you and God, you people, but whatever. I can't change opinions even if I think they're weird. But yeah, things change, and sometimes people are chill with that, and other times they are really not, and Saints Row is just one of those series where there's a certain portion who really just hate everything it does after a certain point.
Camp David was a wild time, wasn't it? I can only imagine what we would have gotten up to if we didn't have to worry about the backlash.
No, we don't have to worry about that now, right?
Okay, so we only get the dubstep gun for that one, which is okay, it's a fine weapon. Oh, we also ranked up, so take a look at that. Let's see, cash. There we go. And what do we got for upgrades? Yeah, I would like health to come to me, please. That would be nice. But also, I do kind of want to conserve cash for now, because, yeah, we only have 39,000. At the very least, I want to look over what we have available. Nitrous is pretty cheap, and that is one we probably want sooner rather than later. There are moments where we'll need to use vehicles, and when that happens, I'll want nitro and everything. So, what did Past Me go for? Oh, actually no, now that I look at it, yeah, pedestrian carnage makes sense. That one's gonna be very useful. It is actually very easy to die in this game if you're not careful, so... best to get health upgrades pretty quickly. It's gonna cut quite a hole in our wallet, but... that's worth it. Does let us collect health faster and get back into things sooner. Nothing to get here. So yeah, let's go nitro. Don't tell Discord I said that. They might have expectations that I absolutely will not fulfill. And we got a bunch of powers as well. Let's see. Oh, Air Dash 2, you say? That is very tempting. Jump height 2 is very good, though. Ninja Reflex's health is also one you're gonna want pretty quickly. So that means anytime you get knocked back but you can recover, you just get a little bit of HP back as well. And, oh, absolutely Sprint Speed 2. You better believe I want that one. I'd buy 3 if I could. But we'll have to wait on that one. Other than that, absolutely Blast Recharge. If not for combat, then for collecting, well, collectibles, cause... you might have noticed, like, sometimes I just kinda mess up throwing balls of ice, and then I, you know, kinda have to wait for far too long for that to actually recover. Alright, so we're done with that. We do have 2 different things we can do with our blast. I'm not really too keen on Bling, especially this early on. Explosion, on the other hand, we'll have to take a look at that one. Glide efficiency, might as well. Air Dash 2, I just screwed myself out of buying. Oh well. Anyway, unlimited sprinting is our next reward, so let's definitely do this side quest. You better believe I want to do this one. You won't have anything to say until we get back to the simulation, so... let's get back to the simulation then. And what's Keith David having us do now?
I want you to imagine this target as that security guard who caught you and that reporter in the, well...
Alright, well, Keith David is telling me to kill, I guess, so I will. Guess we've got another assassination of sorts. Those are still in the game. They're less just stuffed into the menu option like they were in the 3rd, or really kinda 2 as well. Now they're just sort of out in the world, and you just have to treat them like slightly tougher fights is the big difference. Rather than the game gives you a target and you have to find them through some means. It really is just, alright, go to this spot. They are marked on the map with a crosshair. And yeah, it is pretty much just fight somebody, but they probably have superpowers or something. And also there can still be decoys, but they will all beat you down together. So a little bit of difference there. But, yeah, anyway. Well, not this assassination, I guess. A different one. Let's be to keep going. But yeah, I guess I'm pivoting off of that discussion, because in fairness, I've been going at that one for a while about a, you know, extremely subjective matter. Look, not a lot of things can just simply be defined as good or bad completely. It is, in fact, a complex and nuanced issue. Anyway, Anyway, though, we don't have a lot of homies just yet. It's pretty much just, ignoring the DLC, which, in fairness, since Re-elected is now just the version of the game you get, is gonna be the thing everybody gets. I guess, in fairness, the two that you are supposed to have, is pretty much just Kinzie and Keith David, which, you know, I do appreciate that they just added Keith David. Even when I first played this game, I did think that was funny enough, that they included him just as a character, but I didn't really get the joke, so it kind of seemed like a non sequitur. Because, of course, since this is the first one I played, I had not seen Saints Row the Third, where there was also just a real guy in there, just an actual celebrity who's just there. But I'd also, of course, missed the fact that Keith David is the voice of Julius as well. So he's just out here in the world now. More on that later, because the game does not let that one kind of just on its own.
Remember what went down at your first meeting with those lobbyists? I imagine taking out these Zim would be pretty similar.
I don't think it goes overboard with any jokes about it or anything, but yeah, no, that is absolutely just... I guess we want Keith David back, but we did kind of kill off the guy he was voicing. How do we get him back in? Well, there are a number of ways. But also, he's just your vice president. That's just the thing he does. That's why he's here. Oh, also, yeah, here we are with Explosion. I haven't really drawn attention to the Explosion Blast, but, it's incredible, and I don't know why it's so easy to get, because it can kind of just remove Small Fry.
When you're the head of state, you set your own rules, and this simulation is the same way.
I don't know if that's the best lead-up, Keith David. Like, I mean, I guess we're setting our rules for getting run over more than we usually do, since I can just fly around. But this... I feel like if we were actually making our own rules for real, we probably would not be getting run over right now. We can only write so much. Sometimes we do just have to play along. Such as when there's just data clusters everywhere, and we gotta get them. They're all in a row, I can't not get them. I don't remember if this is the point where I sort of implemented my attempted forward momentum rule. It doesn't seem like it. But at some point, I will attempt to only really pick ones up, the data clusters up, in, like, a forward motion and try not to double back for them. Admittedly, it's kind of tough to do that. But I'm sorry, they're everywhere. But, like, I don't think anybody could resist the temptation to pick them up. Actually, I haven't watched any speedruns of this game, but I'd imagine you'd at least have to pick up a bunch of them. Must be kind of fun to route. Or a nightmare to route, I actually don't know. Could be either. But yeah, like, you'd want to get powers at a certain point, I'd assume. Like, surely at some point you'd need to pick up a faster running speed, because that just makes the run go faster. Alright. Anyway, you can keep shooting me, that's fine. Just get me in midair when I can topple afterwards. Oop, did not mean to do that. Well, I need to be over here for adrenaline anyway.
Why do I do this?
See anything more about Keith David? I will say, fun fact, pretty recently before I started footage recording, like I think a couple weeks before I did, Keith David did actually get a Hollywood star, which I have to admit, I would have assumed his name was already on one of those. Like, if he had asked me, I'd just be like, well, obviously he would be, but no, it's a relatively recent thing at the time of recording this. And again, even more recently when I started this.
This is gonna hurt.
I also forget if I mentioned, but I did start recording the footage on July 4th. This, of course, was past my first recording session. We are officially in the second one, but I did have a very patriotic day of this game that kind of ridicules the USA. But, you know, most songs about the United States also make fun of the United States, but they just sort of get adopted anyway, so whatever, we're fine with it for some reason.
When one thinks
Nobody needs dignity, right?
Images of jungles, landscapes, and exotic animals spring to mind. Listening to Ivory by Congo Rock is just as vivid on the imagination, only on K-12 radio.
Or at the very least it has to be. Because as we've mentioned, no more exotic animals. The humble giraffe may very well be dead. Again, unless Zinyak took a liking to them. Or maybe a random Zin. Maybe there's just a random Zin out there who's like, I have to save the giraffe. I'm gonna keep this giraffe on the ship, and we're gonna have wacky shenanigans in which I have to hide it from Zinyak all the time. But it's gonna be fun, and I'm gonna keep it alive. And then at some point we shoot that grunt, and nobody's any the wiser. And then there's just sort of a loose giraffe on the Zin ship. And no one will know why.
Love this.
Because we just deleted the context. And as I'm looking at the billboards, I guess I can also mention, the world in this game, of course, we still have the Steelport map, but there are a bunch of changes. I've, of course, mentioned that our old strongholds are mostly either destroyed or at the very least vacated. Like Kinsey's was not obliterated like that one was, but it still didn't have anything in it, so... Yeah, and Zinyak basically went after our major things. But other than that, things definitely look a bit different. I think Saints Row the Third was a little more focused on establishing a world that really kind of hates you, especially the more you get up to your shenanigans. Because, of course, as I mentioned there's just a whole lot of protesters by the end of the game. They definitely ramp up in frequency as you go, because, you know, there might have been a few early on, but I didn't really notice any. Meanwhile, they were basically outside of every hideout by the end of the game. But here, it's really more about just... what are some really weird-looking things we can do in this world? Like, you'll see a lot more mascot costumes. Obviously, everybody's gonna be glitching a little bit. But it's definitely a case of... there's just a lot of things that kind of make you do a double take if you look at them funny.
You know! Quit cutting me off!
Then, of course, there's also the change in advertisements, which I actually have a couple things to say about. I didn't really use the ads in the previous game that much, the in-game ads. Used a few. But this game actually has none of those from what I can tell. Unfortunately, the Zin just aren't advertising. Which, you know, if they were really evil, they would. They'd really ramp those things up. But, yeah, nothing to really utilize there. But, of course, all the billboards and posters are different. And again, they're not really advertising anything so much as they're trying to threaten you constantly. You know, trying to get you to just give up, stay in the simulation, and not do this shit. Though, I don't know, I feel like Zinyak would appreciate this minigame at least, this activity. I think insurance fraud is one he would actively watch. Everybody's united in watching the boss get run over constantly. But yeah, no, just instead of the random joke signs, it's mostly just that, so...
This is gonna hurt.
It's kind of slowly floating down. Be not afraid. Yeah, no, yeah, fewer jokes in the advertisement overall, because again, it's really just kind of the one note of Zinyak trying to demotivate you. But that's about it. And no radio commercials either. Also, change from Saints Row the Third is there's not, I want to call it a day-night cycle, but it really wasn't a day-night cycle in the first game. Or, the third game. It was in the first game, and it was in fact annoying in the first game. But yeah, no, in the third game, of course, it wasn't actively changing time, but whenever you had, like, a big change, or went through, like, a results screen or anything, you'd get a different time of day. This game, at the very least, does have 2 different world states.
All the way from Italy, that was Congo Rock with Ivory.
Nothing?
This is Jane Valderrama on
Those
Oh, there he
hotspots
goes.
are just like, well,
Mass Destruction.
I don't really know. Kinsey says this one needs shutting down.
And hooligans is not often
The hotspots
utilized
are
in
just
polite
like our
society.
political
However,
enemies.
In the Zin Empire, polite is no longer a concern. Here is Blow the Roof by Fox Pavilion on K-12 Radio.
Anyway, though, yeah, so, there are 2 world states. We're not really going to notice the second one at the moment, but I will say, the one we're currently in does look pretty nice. This is what the world looks like, for the most part. It's a little bit dark, a little bit shaded, has that kind of ominous red glow in the distance. It definitely has a bit of an intimidating look to it, but it also looks cool. Definitely kind of unique. So, I think I would say I prefer this to Saints Row the Third. Even though there's technically less variety to it, I still think it was just weird to not have a day-night cycle. Like, in terms of that sort of thing, the Saints Row 2 just did it better because there was actually a cycle there. And it wasn't like Saints Row 1, where if it was nighttime, screw you, you can't buy anything, you have to rob the stores instead, but I don't want to, I just want to buy stuff. Come on, there we go. But yeah, I never liked that about Saints Row 1, I thought that was annoying. And like, there's no way to progress time legitimately either. Like, you either had to go to the theater, play that first cutscene, and then quit that first cutscene, and then that would skip time ahead, or you just had to sit there and wait for a bit. Either way, it was kind of a waste of time, and I was not a fan of it. But yeah, Saints Row 2 just solved it by saying, okay, there's a day-night cycle, but also everything's open 24 hours a day, and it's like, yeah, no, that makes sense. And I will accept that that's a thing. It still looks neat, but like, there's no major inconvenience. I don't know, I just think it was, like, I get it to a certain extent. Like, they didn't want you going to bed so you would, like, get easy money. Because if you could just constantly skip forward in time, then you would kind of just get a whole lot of money from the safe every time.
I always win my
But yeah, they really should have just tied the money to the in-game timer, not the day-night cycle. Would anybody have minded that, really? I don't think anybody's gonna go, no, my immersion. No, I'm getting it based off an in-game timer and not when I go to bed. Impossible. I mean, you can't go to bed anyway, your character never really sleeps as far as you're concerned, so that immersion's already broken. And again, I don't think that's a thing anybody really cares about. I mean, I don't, but I feel like nobody else would mind it either. Also, God, my aim is terrible. Thankfully everybody's dropping stuff, but still. Man, do I actually have to kill stuff? Okay, no I don't. I have the explosion blast. It really is the best. Please, gun, thank you. There we go, that's better. That's maybe not entirely better. I'm going to run right into fire, that's, not a good strategy. Anyway, let's punch this whole thing, and I said we might not notice the other world state, but actually I think we will, right? Like, we're turning this blue, which means we have control of this area.
Shorty asks that I not make a Chappaquiddick, so I won't.
Well, considering we don't even know where Shaundi is right now, that's very nice of you.
If anyone out there is listening,
I
please
don't know what.
take
No, it
heed
looks like it's
and
still
follow
Zen
Locked
mode out
Williams'
here, so.
directions.
Alright, I guess even though we got that
Like the wise
hotspot,
men
it's not doing the
predicting
thing.
the outcome of our lives.
I guess I
This
need
is
more
Alex
territory
Medvedev
before
prophecy
the thing I'm
on
being
K-12
vague about
Radio.
happens. Which, fair enough, I guess. Gotta get these now, or I'll lose track of them. Oh, okay. I guess I got that challenge too. Cool. Alright, so we are, by the way, heading off to a new activity type. Keith David's kind of giving us a good variety of things to do, but we do have vehicle thefts, and let me tell you, thus far the ones that I've done are so much better than any of the other Saints Row games. Now this one's a ship, and that acts more or less like the VTOL from 3. So it's not like it was gonna be much of a problem anyway. But, you know, I think in general, these are just actually kind of fun. Thus far from where I've recorded, I've not run into any that have just been absolutely aberrant to deal with. I don't remember if the, RC special weapon exists in this game. I don't think it does, but in fairness, I might not have used it in my first run. Could just be there and I never noticed it, but yeah, either way, whether or not it's there, I have not felt like I wanted to use it so far.
When you have a message, you have to be clear, concise, and make sure it's big. Just like leveling a city's block.
Makes sense. See, Keith David knows. He's on the up and up. That's why he's the vice president. Also, the cool thing is, we do have a type of mayhem mission coming up. We're disrupting the system. But, you know, if you don't do these things out of order, I do kind of like how this pans out. I'm trying to lead into the next thing, but it's a fair distance away. And, well, I've still got data clusters to pick up. Whoop. And I've got buildings to get stuck in. Oh shoot, what's the name of this song again? Future Me, you're looking at it right now. I know Jane Valderrama probably said it, but I missed it, but this is one of the songs that I did have on in my playlist in my first run. I think I've mentioned this before, but first time I played this game, I kind of just dumped a bunch of songs into a playlist after listening to them for a couple seconds or knowing them. So I wouldn't say I had the most knowledge of this game's soundtrack beforehand, but man, nostalgia for this soundtrack kind of hits me like a ton of bricks. Like, man. I do like the song an alright amount. It's not my favorite, but it's pretty good. But yeah, just listening to it and being back in this world is just nostalgic in a way that I don't get from a lot of things, admittedly. Like, when I was wrangling up music, so I could just, put in a folder, have easy access to it for editing. The song B.O.B. Bombs Over Baghdad. For some reason, I never, actually, bought it and added it to a playlist. Even though that song is absolutely one of my favorites from this game. It's, one of the highlights for me from it. It was really fun to just run around with that in the background. But for some reason, I didn't get it. I don't know why, I just didn't. But then listening to it again, I was like, oh, holy shit, this song. Right, yeah. Forgot about this one. Why didn't I get this one? Anyway, yeah, the vehicle we just stole is the one we're using for this mayhem mission, so... Like I was saying before realizing I was very far away from this mission, if you're not playing this out of order, you do actually get kind of a cool bit of continuity here. Where you steal this vehicle, and then you use it to blow stuff up. It's not necessary for you to do that. Yeah, it's not like in older Saints Row games you always had to steal the tank before you used it, but...
City needs some serious
I think it's
remodeling.
neat. Plus you get kind of a mission to figure out how to handle this thing before being sent in to destroy things with it. Which is kinda nice. You might not have played Saints Row the Third, and you might not know how the VTOLs work.
Need to destroy that.
Which,
You
in
have
fairness,
just heard
I didn't.
Prophecies by Alex Metric, while I, Jane Valderrama, have been forced to sit here in a cramped, filthy studio reporting on nothing of substance to the world at large. Staying power and endurance. Two things which allow athletes to push themselves to their limits, and two things which describe this next song by Vitalik, titled Stamina.
Would it have been better or worse for Jane if I did go with my, original run and just didn't use any of the radio stations? I feel like it would be worse because then she'd just be talking to nobody. Except maybe Keith David. I don't know if he listens to K-12, he might. It's also probably slightly more Kinsey's deal. At least more so than Pop. She has made just absolutely sure we know she does not like Pop. Not her thing. So she probably listens to, something more like K-Rhyme. She did say she likes hardcore gangster rap. But the question is K-Rhyme hardcore enough for her? And I was so close to gold, but I didn't quite get it. I'm not always the best at mayhem missions, admittedly. I just couldn't find any fences, darn it. But yeah, that'll have to do for now. And speaking of having to do for now, I think that's actually the end of this set of missions, at least. Keith's got 2 more for us. But like I said, I had to split this in half because it was just a really long episode. Anything to say? There we go.
This all really takes me back. You wanna do some more? Come by.
Playing a game of chicken with the timing on these voices. I know he has voice clips. I'm not gonna talk over them ahead of time. But yeah, so... This is 2 of the 4 sets of missions that Keith David's got. We'll be doing the other 2 next time. I believe that'll be a shorter episode. In part because there's less of that to do. Also, yeah, I'm at 94 clusters. I built them up again. I've got a bunch. Alright, so... Unless there's anything... Oh, nope, I saw one. I was gonna say, unless there's more, we're on our way back to base, but no, there's more. Until the day you get them all, there'll be something out there in the world to catch your eye. Turn this way, yep, okay. So yeah, clearly I have not implemented my trying to only go forward rule yet. Because you do still get plenty of clusters even if you do something like that, but... I mean... How could I just make a beeline when there's so many clusters to get? Look, if you've not played the game, you might not understand, but it's very important. You gotta just grab the data clusters. They're here. They're present. You can't just ignore them. Although we can't ignore those because we can't get them yet. So I kinda have to. Alright, so... back to the ship. Well, I'd ask what we got, but I already pointed out what we got. Did not talk over that, because this is a reward we absolutely want. I'd almost say need, to be honest.
We've all had enough of Zinyak's shit.
Yeah,
Do
we've
this,
barely started the game.
and
It's
you can
part
set your own
5.
terms in this fight.
I need every advantage I can get.
Including the advantage of... unlimited sprinting. That's all it says, that's all you need to know. So yeah, now we have unlimited sprinting. I'll probably talk more about that next time, but... I should point out, that is unlimited sprinting, not unlimited stamina. There is a difference. However, for the most part, it really doesn't matter. You can now run to your heart's content. This is why I wanted to do this set of missions now. I guess I could stop doing the Keith David missions and, you know, actually progress the story, but... we've started this, I'm not going to stop it. We're in this for the long haul. So, oh, that's actually pretty cheap, so yeah, let's snap that one. Gotta have super strength because melee is actually really useful in this game. Have you seen the way I throw people? It works out really well. Alright, so yeah, anything else of interest? Oh, bonuses. Okay, pickpocket's a lot less useful in this game because I don't think... yeah, that's carefully bump into people. I've noticed that if you run into them, you don't get money, so... unfortunately, you cannot get money by sprinting into everybody ever. Trust me, I'd be rich if that were the case. Ah, well. Anyway, we'll just finish up here, and next time on Saints Row 4... it'll be time for more with Keith David. I know you're excited, you can't not be excited.